Is it live?
Oh, shoot now.
Let's try the microphones.
Testing 1, 2.
1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2.
All right, we ready.
You got a beatbox is code 31.
Cool. 31.
Y'all better stay tuned. Hey, don't give him too much. Don't give him too much yet. Don't give him too much.
Okay.
I gotta introduce you first.
We starting the S.STREET media. The S.STREET media beginning is on. Pardon me. We stop that. Mic is on.
Shout out to my TikTok people on here that's live with me. I appreciate y'all. Tap that screen and share it live. And y'all can go on S.STREET Media on YouTube because we're live on there, so you get to see all of us at once and not just me.
So we starting. The warning sign is up. The S.STREET media opening is on. And the hand claps, you know, do what you do.
How y'all doing? It's Coach D and it's Code 31. Y'all know this is episode 8, sponsored by No Saleh, which is my name backwards by the parents. They've been sponsoring this whole month of Code 31 Media TV podcast. I got 2 very special guests, and I want them to introduce themselves. Introduce yourself.
What's going on, guys? Quan Lee. D-Crooks, the artist.
Listen, both of these guests are very special. Remember I told you I have like appreciation. I had appreciation for the first month, but we continue in the appreciation because I have Quan Lee, and he actually did the memorial game for my brother at Madison Square Garden in 2010. So we always been family through Elegant Hutness. Rest in peace to AD the General. Shout out, rest in peace to Special. And shout out to Phoebe and the rest of the Elegant Hutness family. So Quan, let people know a little bit about yourself.
Quan Lee, I mean, you pretty, you know, if you have Instagram, you've seen the logo Quan Lee TV. I mean, if you've done parties in New York City, you see my name on some of the flyers, you see my name on some of the content. I'm a lot of things, a rapper, videographer, producer, flyer guy, multifaceted person, if I may say so myself.
Okay, and when did you get in the game?
I got in the game taking it seriously around 2008.
Okay.
I was doing things here and there with the production, like right out of high school, 2004, 2005, not really taking it seriously. You know, I was from the MySpace era.
Okay.
Well, you know, I got a couple of plays on my music player, and I was like, maybe I could try something. And then started inquiring about studios and how to get out there, and it just turned into what we have today.
Okay. And where you hailing from, young man?
Brooklyn, New York. This is my backyard right here.
Okay, okay. Shout out to Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? I love all my boroughs. So, since I saw you last, what have you been up to?
I've been working nonstop. I mean, in addition to also having a child and becoming a father.
Congrats.
I work twice as hard now, so it's every day I'm working. But you know me, as long as I know you every day, this is from the open mic showcase era. I was always at every show,
yes,
every event,
yes,
everything, either filming or performing. So I've been doing the same thing. I mean, we had a little hiccup for the past 3 years, but I've been doing the same thing, in and out, day in, day out.
So what keeps the hunger burning all these years later?
It's something to do. I started this when I was a teenager to keep myself out of the streets, stay out of trouble, and I'm making something out of it now. I can honestly feed my family and take care of my family off of just a camera or off of just music. It's an amazing blessing to do such a thing. So I just kept on going because it kept me out the street and kept me out of trouble.
So you say you're a dad now. How old is your baby?
My son is gonna be 9 in a few months.
Wow.
Yeah. Being a
Wow,
dad is
Lee is a
definitely.
dad.
It's me. I was already working hard, but it made me work even harder. So
Oh,
now
yeah.
it's like, okay, I gotta do this not only for me, but for my son.
And so from when I knew you from Elegant Fitness days, and if somebody wanted to get in the game, like, what could you tell them from that experience to now?
It's easier now. There's more platforms to feature yourself on. I remember when I started, we only had YouTube, we had Facebook to an extent. We had the end of MySpace, but that's all we really had. We only had these 3 major outlets. Then Instagram came along. That was another outlet. Twitter was still kind of up in the air. You know, as hip hop, we always catch on the things last. So we're just really getting into the digital promotion of things. So it's easier now. You can make up one video on Instagram and become famous overnight. Next thing you know, you're doing all the clubs, you're doing all the bookings. I mean, we see it all the time. You know, there's these rappers and these other entities that come up. All it takes is one video.
Right.
But if you don't get it on the first one, keep trying.
Definitely.
Keep going. Somebody's going to see it and be like, okay, I like this kid. Or you might just get an inquiry where it's like, hey, I like what you did. Can you do that for me? It may not be your dream, but you could even, you know, make something out of yourself helping somebody else with theirs.
Okay, and what about people that don't help? Like, they can easily give you the alley-oop and they won't.
Sometimes you have to prove yourself. I used to be that guy, hey, why my friends won't book me to do their videos? Why they won't pick me? Why they're picking these more established people? But I stepped my game up. It takes practice. Unfortunately, a lot of times a friendship, you know, you expect a certain arm extended, but then it's like your friend. So you kind of have like this leeway where it's like, it's my friend, I could do whatever, or I could do a halfway job, and then you have a fallout because you didn't do what I could have paid somebody for. So sometimes it's not personal. I learned that with experience. I used to get mad like, hey, why am I not the cameraman? Or why am I not shooting your video? Then realizing, looking at the video that was produced, yeah, I got to step my skills up a little bit. They're professionals. They're veterans. I'm not. So that's what that really is. A lot of times it's nothing personal.
So how long did it take you to get to that point where you finally say, yo, I should be there now?
I've always had it, like, in the back of my ear. People always tell me, hey, look, I can't pick you because of this. Luckily, I've had constructive criticism where it's like, hey, man, I really like what you're doing and the way you're going, but if you look at what these guys are doing that I'm paying, study them, study from them, and learn from these people. So eventually you can get the phone call. Then it turned into me getting phone calls from other artists because it's like, hey, I see what you're doing. I want to be a part of that. It turned into me winning awards and getting recognized, and even me doing a Wu-Tang video.
Which one you did?
Capadonna Winter Wars. I actually shot that with Donnie.
Nice.
And that actually happened on the store remote. I literally hung on Doggy because I thought it was a joke.
Doggy Diamonds?
Dog, you know, that's Forbes DVD, that's home team.
Yeah,
Doggy Diamonds.
Yeah.
I literally got a phone call one morning, hey, we're gonna shoot a Capadonna video. I'm like, random phone call. Now that hey, so next week we're going, like literally, but Dog is like my big brother, my mentor. Yeah. So I'm like, you kidding me? Come on, stop playing. Are we doing an interview or are we doing a video? We're doing a video. I didn't know what song it was. I didn't get told the song.
So it was Capadonna's what?
The verse on Winter Wars, one of the best Wu-Tang verses.
Okay.
Yes, it's coming out your door. When you hear the song, you're gonna be, oh, you see the video? Yep, that's the beat. It was on the Don't Be a Menace soundtrack, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I actually shot Capadonna's verse and it went viral.
Wow.
This is like the end of 2013, but the fact I just woke up, I'm like, wait, what? I went from shooting, you know, the traditional unsigned rapper videos, you're in front of your building with 40 people, to, wow, I'm doing a Wu-Tang video. Wow.
So who else was there from Wu-Tang?
It was literally spur of the moment. Like literally Capadonna was in town because at one point Doggy was doing songs he liked. We actually did a couple of videos. Tragedy Gaddafi was one of them. I know I wasn't here for when Season Rec did the video for their song If You Scared, but it's a couple of videos that were done that Doggy said, I like these songs. Let me actually sit here and do a video to them, a visual. So to do the Capadonna Winter Wars is like big. But the hardest part about it is not the video. It's the hardest part about not geeking out. Like the one thing I tell people in this game, like you have to be super professional. I'm around rappers, like my favorite rappers ever, and I'm like, yeah, I'm cool. What's up, man? How you? But in my mind, I'm like, oh, I just met. I'm calling my dad, like, yo, Pops, you won't believe who I met, man. He's like,
so while we on that topic, what was your whoa moment? Because my whoa moment was meeting Method Man twice, and then interviewing Mario Van Peebles.
meeting Kane on my fourth birthday. My
Okay.
fourth birthday. It was the Wiz downtown Brooklyn.
Okay.
I'll never forget it because Kane was like my first rapper I ever recognized as a kid.
Okay.
You know, that's heavy Brooklyn. I'm like, oh my God, Big Daddy Kane. I'm like
Yes.
4 years old, African pendant on. We talking way back, that
Yes.
era with the black leather African pendant, you know, I'm talking
Yes.
flat top and everything.
Yes.
That's like the first superstar I ever met. There's times I remember.
Have you seen him since?
I have in past, you know, with the UMAs and everything, all the shows. Like we've been around so many legendary people. Like
But
actually,
did you get to speak to him? Like, yo, I met you.
I remember this when I was
Yeah.
a kid. He was like, "Wow, you took it back." I mean, seeing Uncle Ralph, you know, that's like
Oh,
Uncle
yeah.
Ralph didn't know my name. I'm
Oh,
like, my cousins used to watch you on Channel 25
Listen.
back in the day.
He actually sat me down in the Queen's Library and he told me to start my own platform and put the grind in and let them come to me. So shout out to Uncle Ralph.
I remember when you were doing
was last Monday.
when we were doing the showcases, you were doing the radio podcast on the side. Like after we would perform, you would run down, hey, how you doing, brother? Look, what's your name? We gonna do a quick interview. I remember that.
That was with Frank. I wasn't even thinking about doing
before
my
they
own
called
platform.
that podcast. We
Yes.
were doing that in that radio.
Yes.
I remember the radio used to laugh at us like, "Oh, that's not gonna last."
Mhm.
What y'all doing on the internet? That's not real radio.
Right.
Now look, everybody's doing
Right,
it.
everybody.
The majors are doing what we started.
Right, Elegant Henderson
Even as
Radio.
artists, we used to drop on Friday.
Yes.
Remember, all the rappers used to drop on Friday so everybody could download your tape over the weekend. That's an industry standard now.
Yes.
So we've paved the way inadvertently for a lot of things. We changed it.
Mm-hmm.
So to be a part of that whole experience is a blessing in itself.
Definitely. Like I said, when I met him, I was taking the money at the door for Elegant Hoodness, and then I met Frank, and I started, working with him. I never envisioned that I'd be here right now. I was so used to being in the background, just giving people my ideas and just proud of that moment. But then, like I said, people started to unappreciate what I gave them. So then I said, you know what, let me step out on faith and do my own thing. And it's been working. I mean, I ain't gonna tell you it's been easy, There's haters, there's distractions, but when you're a child of God, you gotta keep it moving.
And the hardest distraction, I believe, for most people, I can speak for myself mainly, is the expectation you put upon yourself. Like, I want to be this big. But then when you don't reach a personal goal that you didn't tell anyone about, you start to feel like, yeah, maybe this ain't it. People that you don't even know is watching, like, hey, I saw your show.
I've been hitting mine. I've been actually exceeding. Like, my bucket list is pretty much over. Once I get this Method Man interview, this Bobby Brown, and New Edition, like, everything else is bonus. Because, like, look, I've interviewed KRS-One, T.I., Rakim, Cormega, Uncle Ralph. I just did the drip, 50 the drip. I interviewed Fat Joe. I got Fat Joe to say yesterday's price is not today's price for code 31. You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
They told me I couldn't get Flex to do a drop. I got Flex to do a drop. Every time you tell me I can't do something, I get it done. So it's to your best interest to not, tell me I can't. Like this TikTok edition. They didn't want me to finish that at all. I got hate emails. I hope you unalive yourself. You bald-headed hoe. Like, and I finished it. 21 TikTok edition. Because they told me with the first one, oh, you got celebrities and stuff. That's the only reason why it's gonna set up. I said, all right, let me do this one. See, when you're a boss, you can create anything in your own magazine. So now what you gonna say to me? You know what I'm saying? But now I'm going back to the celebrities because I gave people an opportunity in here and they didn't appreciate it.
That's unfortunate. Like, I remember when unsigned hype was like the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when your friends start getting it, it's not that important now.
Yeah.
It's not that important when somebody I know does it.
Mm-hmm.
Any look is a great look.
Right.
Like, I remember the looks I used to beg for.
Mm-hmm.
Or I used to be a fly on the wall. We've been in interviews together. You see me, like, I wasn't even getting interviewed. I would just soak up game, pay attention. A lot of radio stations I went to, I'd just be like, okay, all right, I see what these artists are saying. I see what the pioneers are saying, even talking to people on the side. So this is a constant learning experience with the internet. Like,
so how do you feel about the people that pop out of nowhere and like you ain't heard from them in years and they be like, yo, Quan, it's good to see you. How you doing, guy? And you're like,
I don't get mad at that because with me, I'm working so much. Like, I haven't seen you in
Right.
We going on 13 years
Yes.
almost.
Yes.
But see, as soon as we connect,
Yes.
hey, what's going on?
Yes, because there's a real bond there. It
And
ain't
I'm
that
always
fake.
working, so
You know what I'm
I'll
saying?
wind up running into people at random times. I'll literally be on
Yeah.
Myrtle Ave over here somewhere, going sneaker shopping. I'll run into somebody I did a show with like 15 years
Yes.
ago when I was trying to hand out CDs before
Yes.
flash drives, and it'd be like we just stopped talking yesterday.
Yes.
Everybody
And it's
doesn't have
crazy
that.
because they'll be like, everybody knows me as Coach D, but if you knew me from Elegant Hoodness days, they'll be like, oh my God, Dawn.
Yep.
And I'm like, yo, like, no, it's Coach D. You know what I'm saying? They don't know me as Dawn. You call me Coach, you know what I'm saying? Don't, you know, they don't need to know the government. I purposely don't introduce myself as Dawn because I feel like that's personal. I don't feel like you should know her yet. You should know Coach D, Code 31. And then if I feel like we got that connection, then I'll introduce you to Dawn. But when I introduce myself in this room, it's Coach D.
That's wild because you went when I met you through Brother Davis, you introduced yourself as Dawn to me.
Yes,
I mean,
because
because that's
right, because
that's my brother.
You're from here, you're from Queens. I know your brother, I grew up with your brother playing baseball, so that's different. You understand?
But it's funny, you didn't know that yet. When
I was
when
always
Dre-
Coach D because I've been coaching basketball forever.
But it's like when Dre just like he was like, hey, you know, and it was just I was like, oh, no, she's good people. I was like, I'm meeting she's good people. Yes.
But speaking of, we're gonna let them know where they can find you at, Quan.
Instagram, Quan Lee TV, KWANLEE TV. Facebook, Quan Lee TV. I am Quan Lee. Twitter, Quan Lee, KWANLEE. My website, QuanLeeTV.com. I keep spelling things because, you know, unfortunately, I have the name Quan, which is usually spelled with a Q.
Yes.
So KWANLEE
TV.com.
Yes, I do.
Oh yeah, I need to link up with you.
Thisquan.com. Just Google Quan Lee if you can.
Quan Lee.
Everything is Quan Lee or Quan Lee TV. You can find me almost anywhere on the internet.
And you have a TV show? Or
I do the YouTube right now with YouTube. I am trying to figure out because I used to get monetized. Unfortunately, with the lovely internet rules that we have, I have to, you know, redo things. There's different requirements now. So I just have to make sure I'm on the up and up. Me having love for the hip hop game, a lot of stuff got flagged as far as monetization because, hey, that's the industry music. Even though I'm catching my favorite artists perform, I can't necessarily broadcast that. So I just got to get the business right.
Okay. All right. Well, you know, we're going to build. I mean, we haven't seen each other in 13 years, but now that we back connected, it's a wrap, y'all. It's a wrap. We back. But now I want to introduce my second guest. Introduce yourself, young man.
D Cross the artist, aka Cross, living instrument, vocal beat expressionist, just all around artist.
And when did you come up with that concept, or when did you know that? Listen, this is what I want to do. I want to be not only a drawing artist, but a beatbox and all that.
So, an interesting thing. I didn't initially aspire to be a human beatbox. When I was a kid, one of the things that I would do, I made sounds. I would draw. I would draw different cartoons, and make sculptures, and you sort of wanted to just like create like a soundtrack and like just making little sounds. But then I also wrote poetry. And so I wanted to initially say be an MC. And so it was just finding ways to put all of those things together. And the first inspirational spark to be able to just like either make noises or be able to create music with my mouth was actually watching New York Hot Tracks.
Okay, wow, you take it back.
I'm taking it back. So this was, I would say, 83.
I was 12.
And I saw these young men in these shiny coats, the Fat Boys. And I saw that, and I was like, yo, that's dope. And I was really inspired by that.
Mhm.
And then I had heard about Dougie Fresh, but I hadn't heard anything from him. First time I actually heard Doug was on there was a song that Red Alert played.
Okay.
This was before the show.
Okay.
Where it was called the original Human Beatbox. We both crowd around everybody and everybody crowd around, and you're like 1, 2, 3, God, people, check this out. And I heard that, and I was like, yo, that's dope. I said, yo, the Fat Boys are dope, but that's dope too. Then hearing Bismarck, he just like really just totally just like changed everything. With Bismarck, he was really very influential because Biz was not only beatboxing and making all of these sounds, hearing him on Mr. Magic when he went a 1, 2, and hearing like, wait a minute, he's rhyming and doing the beatbox at the same time. So I was like, all right, is that possible? So that was a spark for me. But in terms of really just like going in, I was intrigued because human beatboxing got to a point where a lot of people had stopped doing it. And I always looked at it like, all right, the underdog. The underdog, and it was creative. It was always something that was really, really very creative. And I wanted to be able to incorporate that into rhyming. And one of the things that happened a lot of times, most people, when they heard that during that time, they were not feeling that. So we're going back to, I was a kid in, I'd say like 85, 86, 87, while people were, still beatboxing, didn't start phasing out. And it was like, yo, we ain't trying to hear you doing these sounds while you're rhyming. And another big inspiration that I thought about was Rozelle.
Wow.
During that time, people tend to think about Rozelle like, oh, early 90s. No. I remember first hearing Rozelle rocking with Mikey D.
Shout out to my big bro, Mikey D.
Hearing him rock with Mikey D. And Mikey D was a brother who I would see when I was little. My grandfather used to live out in Laurelton. So Mikey D was a brother that sometimes he would be on the corner just rhyming, on Merritt Boulevard. And so I was like, yo, this brother's nice. Now, when I heard just like his, the rhymes, Bustle Rhyme, Mike, and all that, Get Rough and all of that, I noticed that I was like, yo, there's beatbox in here too. Yo, who is that cat? And that's how the connection to, checking for Rozelle. Now, the dope thing, just like with Rozelle, was during the 90s, the latter part of the 90s, when I was actually re-finding myself and reconnecting myself as an artist. I was through the poetry, to the spoken word poetry scene that was happening and blossoming through Brooklyn, the Village, and still rhyming. But Rozelle at that time was rocking with a collective named the Vibe Chameleons. And so I would like see him do his thing. And the first initial connection, the first time really meeting him was through a brother who I held very dear. His name's Matt Du. Rest in peace, Matt Du, Durable Art. We were in college together. And so he was a brother who just like kind of he put a battery in my back to actually do more with beatboxing. Because I used to let him listen to just like my demo tapes that I had. I had a group that I was with at that time. I'm going back to say 94. And he was like, yo, that on tape is cool, but that's not what I saw you doing the school lounge. That's not what I saw you rocking. He was like, yo, you should incorporate more beatboxing into what you're doing and what you're rhyming, what you're doing rhyming. And it so happened one day when hanging out with him, he would always be like, yo, come to, one of my dual R's parties that he would, do these parties with his partner, Gerald's, because they would do R's together.
Yes.
And one day, chance happened and he was like, yo, this is a brother that I wanted you to meet. And it just so happened to be Rozelle, and he was with one of his band members at the time, Shaki.
Okay.
Wasn't
he also with the Roots?
Whoa, that's after.
Okay.
That's after.
Okay.
So that's after. But that stood out. That stood out because during that time, it was an art form that wasn't as accepted. Of course, you had brothers out there, specifically another one who was an influence who I heard about early on, DOA.
Okay.
Eminem,
that's my guy too.
Those brothers, they were keeping the art form alive. Okay. Kenny Muhammad, all of those brothers, Kenny Muhammad, funny story, Kenny Muhammad for a hot second actually went to my high school.
Okay.
High School of Art and Design.
Okay.
And, was just like laying it down. So I saw all of these wonderful vocalists, but I still didn't really take it as seriously. And what ended up happening, being drenched in, of course, being in the midst of hip hop, and it's like I love hip hop, I love hip hop. Being drenched in the whole spoken word scene that was happening, my thing was I was like, yo, I could bridge the gap. I could take spoken word,
yes,
beatboxing, put all of that together, and see what I can do with it. So that
I'm admiring your outfit. So you made that?
Oh yeah. This
and then the tape deck with all that. My gosh.
But that's for me. It's always been about creativity.
Okay.
And finding ways to be able to be as creative as possible and plug into that, even when sometimes a lot of times it wouldn't be the most popular. You stick out like a sore thumb sometimes. But sometimes it's like, hey, I'm not going to change it for anybody.
Yeah, I'd rather stick out than
you have to be able to be
yourself. Yes.
And sometimes it can be uncomfortable.
Yes.
I'll say this, even just like with that, there's a particular style of beatboxing, spoken word, rhyming, even singing and doing all of that. A lot of venues that I was going to, it wasn't accepted.
Right.
So it was a gray area.
Well, as you see, shout out to C3. She just won Chrome 23.
Yes, I saw.
She represented for the South Side. And she started out in poetry as well.
Yeah, I knew her. I met her through Erica.
Yeah,
because that for years I worked with Erica, Life Camp.
Yes.
Matter of fact, Erica, shout out to Erica Ford. I actually met Erica when she was still with the Codes. All the way just like in the beginnings, so shout out to Erica Ford.
Yeah, but it's weird with C3, I interviewed her like during COVID, like over Zoom, and she was telling me about, dang, I really want to get into battle rap. Like I have that interview of her saying, I want to go, from poetry, winning poetry stuff to, I want to finally do battle rap. And now in 2023, she is the first winner of Chrome 23. Shout out to Remy Ma and her battle. $25,000 she won. So I'm not going to tell you when, but C3 is going to be blessing our platform.
That's what's up.
So shout out to her. Like I'm very proud of her. Like it's crazy to see people that you've known from years ago just taking off now.
The world is a small place.
I
was thinking about when you were saying, about people stars and all that. The thing is I've always kind of looked at it like, look, everybody's a regular person.
Mm-hmm.
And that thing kind of stuck out to me because as a young person,
Mm-hmm.
all of the, so many of the hip hop luminaries were always around.
Mm-hmm.
If you want Jamaica Avenue,
Yes.
they were there.
Yes.
When I moved to Left Rack City,
Mm-hmm.
I had an interesting experience. It's weird. So LL was on 57th Avenue,
Wow.
but he had a hoodie on.
Mm-hmm.
I was about maybe 12 at the time. LL had a hoodie on and he was just looking and observing people. Nobody knew who the heck he was.
Mm-hmm.
I knew because I was a huge LL fan.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's standing there on the corner, he's looking, it's like the eye contact. He's like, yo, Troy, come here. And so he like gives me $10 and says, and then just like disappears. And he's just like watching people and studying people and like nodding his head like, all right, does he have a Walkman on? But he was just, maybe he did have a Walkman on. But it was just like, all right, this is a regular person. Seeing Cool G rap at the time come through my junior high school, at the time, because DJ Polo was actually the custodian in my high school.
Wow.
And everybody was asking, they would always ask Polo, like, yo, he came through with the big horseshoe. And he was like, yo, there's no shame in none of this. This is legal money. He said, matter of fact, I got joints that's coming out on the radio soon. So this is like 86.
Wow.
I wonder how would that interview be like, dude, do you remember working at this school and telling people y'all got something coming out? That's Polo. Like, like you imagine he's working and Road to the Riches. Cool, you rapping Polo back again. And everybody bumping your joint.
G-Rap would pick Polo up sometimes from the school in a caddy.
Like as a kid, I can't imagine as a kid, like, oh snap, this
and as a kid, because I was such a hip hop geek, I would soak things in like that. I remember once again going out back to Laurelton, the Fat Boys would always be there. So Buffy would always be in his caddy, Burger King, on the corner. Matter of fact, not far from where I used to see Mikey D in Laurelton. So always see Prince Marky D, rest in peace. Buffy, Cool Rock would come through. But it would mostly be Buffy.
He does a barbecue in memory of
I'm gonna make it this year.
Listen,
I wasn't able to make it the last 2 years.
Mandel is a partner of his.
Jam Master Jay.
Yeah, that's her cousin.
Jay has a special place always.
Yeah.
Because once again, another Av story. Saw him where it was, it was one of those days, you see Run MC, and at the time, Run MC was the biggest thing. We talking about like 86 or something like that. A kid, a little kid or whatever. Like, yo, Run MC, and during the time it's a funny story. It's a funny story to me. I guess Run wasn't in the best mood, and I'm like, yo, Run MC, Run, like he wasn't feeling. DMC was, DMC. He's like, yo, what's up? And real cool. And so Jay was like, yo, hold on, yo, why you what? Yo, don't be dissing the kid, whatever. And like, yo, what's up? And Jay was always the cat. Anytime you seen him anywhere, it was like embrace, open arm. He was that dude. And so
that's dope.
Yeah.
I mean, I got questions for y'all being a student of the game under you guys. Like, how was it at the height? I know that's like my Adidas time before Tougher Than Leather. How was that? Like, DMC was like Jay-Z at the time. My name DMC, the all-time great. I bought the most rhymes in New York State. How was that to see these guys? Like, you just go into the store and see your favorite rapper. Like, there was no internet back then. There was no camera phones. There was no word of mouth wasn't that fast yet. So it's like by the time you told somebody, yeah, whatever, man, until they sort themselves.
Yeah.
How did that go? Yo, I just seen Cool J down the street.
Well, it was dope because they were superstars, but they were regular people. Before I moved to Brooklyn, I would see Irby, Rakim just chilling. Albee Square Mall. Albee Square
That's
Mall.
downtown Brooklyn.
You know, same thing with Kane. And Bismarck, yo, he was a cat that you would see everywhere. No matter where you went, like, yo.
So one of the guys in Stetson Sonic was friends with my brother, so I used to see him at Ajax Park all the
Delight.
Yeah, Delight.
Yes.
Delight.
I mean,
yes.
Y'all mean to tell me y'all would just come outside or come downstairs and
regular people.
Yeah, like no, my brother, like it's crazy.
Like-
my brother knew all these people.
like
He knew
somebody coming
Roxanne
over to dinner,
Shante,
like
Mikey D, Kid Creole. Like he would tell me about stories about them, and I'm like, yeah, right. And then after he passed, I met all of these people. And Mikey D, he told me a funny story that he got locked up because my brother was a correction officer at the Queen's house. And my brother would take him out his cell and feed him and stuff, and they thought he was a snitch. And I was dying, but no, that was his personal friend. And actually, I had Bimmy here last week, and Bimmy said the same thing. Your brother used to take good care of us when we got locked up. And, like he was a personal friend, and he also coached Bimmy's son. He coached Stephon Marbury's nephew. He coached Roxanne Shantae's son. So I'm looking forward to interviewing her and hearing more stories about, my brother.
that's amazing in itself. Like when you find out who knows people is genuinely, it's like the love people get. It's like, wow, that's real genuine. You guys are from an era where it's like you saw the actual growth of it.
Yeah.
Not like now we have the internet. It's like, okay, this could be our childhood friend, but tomorrow they can have 1 million followers. And you don't see them.
Right.
You don't know the next time you're gonna see them.
Yeah, the thing is it's like I always look at it like, people are people, and you just like want to be able to, see people stay grounded and be grounded.
Yes.
And also, one of my things is like I always found myself like, look, I like to root for people, whatever. There's, case in point. High school friends is Mobb Deep.
Wow. Look at that.
And
I saw happened a while back at Cormega's album release party.
Good team.
Listening party.
And the thing is just like, you see people when you root and you want to see people win.
Yes.
And I think that's an important thing to be able to want the best for people, just like you want for yourself. And see so many just people. And the thing is you never know. I look at it like this: you never know when you cross paths with just different people, what that moment is going to be like, or what it can lead to, or whatever, or just connections. Uncle Ralph has been wow.
Listen,
I can't say enough about
when he sat me down at the Queen's Library that day. I just was like, I can't even believe I'm sitting here with him, because I watched him on TV as a child. I'm 52 years old, and I used to watch him on TV, and I used to watch him on TV. And all these people that I'm interviewing now is just like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm actually interviewing these people now?
And you trying not to geek out.
You know what? I don't geek out because I came home one day after I interviewed Ice-T, because he was an equal standard. Shout out to Tahim that passed away. He was the director. But I came home and I'm calm until I get in the house and I say, oh my God, mommy, I interviewed Ice-T. She's like, always remain humble in everything you do. And then she says, that's nice, baby. Go take out the garbage. Go take care of your dad and wash the dishes. Like, okay, you home now. I don't care about that extra stuff. You have to remain humble in everything that you do.
I also thought about just when actually meeting Doug and in the run and when he saw I had to do what I could, because I met him as a kid with him, but I wasn't doing any beatbox or whatever. And I actually met Doug through a dear friend of mine who transitioned, who was very instrumental, Kid Lucky, or King Lucky. And Kid Lucky, what he did was, that was a whole nother push where he was like, look, I want to be able to take the scene of beatboxing and do something else with it. But he basically had reached out to Doug and nudged him. This is like in like 2002, 2003, and nudged him and got to a point where I was able to forge a real cool relationship with Doug, and Doug was like, look, I'm gonna look at this next generation that's coming behind me, because I really wasn't totally aware of it like that. But Doug pulled me aside one time when rocking, and he was like, yo, money. He was like, yo, you got it. Yo, you got it. And it was just like that push and that extra. And then the next time after that, had the opportunity to be able to rock with Doug. We did a fundraiser, a charity event at Madison Square Garden. The company that was part of Beatboxing Entertainment that was founded.
Is that still like alive today? Like,
so Beatboxing Entertainment is not alive today, but there's a whole movement. But that's a whole.
No, I'm saying if y'all got a whole new thing, we can put that in the mag.
Well, it's a whole new movement of different things. Now I'm in a place where I'm a young elder now.
Okay.
So it's like all of the youngsters that come behind, for not only just like beatboxing is I consider myself a hip hop ambassador.
Okay.
Because I think about being a kid. I wasn't always the one who was talking, but I was the fly on the wall, who soaked it in, who was able to talk to people, who was able to be talked to, and stayed humble. That humbleness a lot of times was also, shyness, not wanting to be rah, 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 and just like seeing certain parts of, the business part and saying, I don't want to really do that. But now, I'm in a position where I'm able to be able to pass certain things on to younger people, whether it's in the classroom, because I'm an educator.
Yes. And you got to tell me about your artwork. Like, we really got to tap in that before we go, because your artwork is amazing.
So the artwork, the thing is for me, the artwork, that's where everything springs from. That's where it all jumps off from.
Yeah, make sure you get a visual. You see that?
This right here, being able to take different things that meant something to me. Tapes used to mean everything to me when I was a kid. Pause button tapes. Taping Super Rockin', Mr. Magic, and DJ Better, and Chuck, you understand? All of them, soaking all of them in, it brought something to me. So it was just like having tapes and repurposing them and turning them into artwork. And that's always been something that's important to me, connecting the arts.
Yes.
Not only just the visual arts, but the vocal arts, wearable arts, all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
Just like having everything just together.
Yes.
Even the hat.
Yeah, the whole outfit.
The hat,
Yeah,
kicks.
you design your kicks too.
Yeah.
Very creative.
Just keeping everything creative and really just looking at like, hey, the world can be a colorful place.
Yes.
And it should be a colorful place. Everybody should aspire to be able to be as unique as they possibly can and be whoever they are. And I think that's something that's important to not only pass on to young people, but also adults. Because a lot of times as adults, we get placed in a box where it's like, oh, no, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. And it's like, nah.
Yeah.
Live out those aspirations, live out those dreams. Because nothing's promised.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask you, like I asked him, what do you feel are the pros and cons that you faced so far in your journey?
Okay, so in my journey, I'm going to put it in a nutshell. One of the pros for me was finding different ways to navigate difficulties, but getting to the point where I was able to mature enough to be able to recognize sometimes the difficulty is actually a blessing. It's actually a lesson. It's actually something that'll cause you to start manifesting then thinking about things that are, you know, just difficult. One of the difficult things is not being always understood.
Mhm.
You know, you might be coming from a certain angle or whatever and be totally misunderstood. And because you're totally misunderstood, you might not be able to translate whatever your message is. One of the things that I used to always face was being, you know, just being super positive and trying to be as positive as possible. There was backlash with that a lot of times. So a lot of times if you take a certain positive role, people, oh, yo, that's corny, yo, that's this and that. So it was, you know, that was an obstacle sometimes. But then on the flip side, adaptability. For me, adaptability to different situations, being able to talk to just about anybody when getting down to it. You know, a lot of people would always say, like, yo, why you hanging out with this dude and that, or this person and that? And then they would be, you know, people that, you know, weren't necessarily considered the most positive, might be super street or whatever. But I was like, look, treat everybody like people.
Yes.
You know, it's important to be able to treat everybody with respect.
Yes.
You know, I don't care if somebody's the janitor. I feel like you treat the janitor the same way like you treat the Mega Million superstar.
Absolutely.
You know,
I say that. I don't care if you're the janitor, the water boy.
Yeah.
Everybody has a special story to tell. You know, I interviewed people at Quan Studios, and they say, you know, you're the first one to ever interview. Everybody always looks at the main person. But you gotta understand there's somebody behind the scenes that put all this together, and they just the face of it. So I interviewed a young man named Suits. He was down with DJ K Slay. And he was like I said, I've been on 5 of his albums. Nobody ever interviewed me until you. Or I'll do like unsigned artists, and they'll be like, you know, nobody ever, you know, reached out to interview me. They always wanted the head guy. And my cameraman, even one of my cameramen was like, why are we interviewing this person? I said, because they're just as important as the main person. And you never know, tomorrow, like you said, today, you could go viral like that. And that same person that you overlook will be somebody tomorrow. And you know what? They're going to remember the person that took a chance on them when nobody else looked at them in the same way. So that's why I know I stand out from everybody else that's doing media and interviews and stuff, because I'll interview that person over there. I'll interview the water boy, the janitor, and say, well, what did you do? Or the security. You don't know, like the bodyguard, you know how many stories they oh my gosh. Yeah, I have a friend that used to bodyguard with Eminem. So, you know, he wants to tell his story, but it's like, okay, but you got to say it in a way that's not messy, because I don't do messy on my platform.
There's so many stories to, you know, to be told, and everybody, listen, everybody has a story.
I mean, the fact that you told me about 2 of the dopest beatboxers I ever met in person, Iman and Kid Lucky. I remember them dudes when I was doing shows. I'm like, yo, they still beatbox like that. That's dope. That sounds like the Dougie Fresh. They was dope. Like, I've seen Kid Lucky just randomly on the train to start beatboxing. People he'll stop train travel. We talking about rush hour at 5 o'clock. Like, you know how the kids do the showtime now? He'll literally start beatboxing. Everybody just, instead of being like, yo, kill that noise, cut it out. Oh,
and then you see how nonchalant he said Dre Davis. Do you know what he's talking about? Andre Leroy Davis that did all the characters.
He was a huge inspiration. And I told him, cause it's funny. We both went to the same. Yo, I know. That's how this. He went to the same high school and college as me. So it's like it's funny. I didn't get a chance to meet him until after he stopped doing the Source. And then making the connection, because he saw me performing. And I was like, yo, I know you. Yo, I know who you are. And I was like, well, listen, I said, your page, that last word was an inspiration to me as an artist. And the thing is, I mean, I would always drop my portfolio off and being a source off office and drop it off. Nothing. It got close. Nothing ever came of it. Same thing, when dropping stuff off at receiving Vibe and all of that. As an illustrator, but it's like seeing his work was an inspiration.
Yes.
In the source.
Yeah, I'm gonna get him in Code 31 Media Magazine. I'm gonna get all of y'all in there. All of y'all gonna be in the magazine. But like he's been an inspiration to me because he actually sat me down and he was teaching me for a little bit, but then his schedule got crazy. And I gotta get back to drawing. I haven't been drawing in a minute.
When you get a chance,
I respect that art form so much because I cannot draw for anything.
Yeah.
Can't draw, but I love the art form. Like the fact that you even have a physical magazine is a blessing in itself because it's like you don't really see things like this anymore. We don't kids don't read magazines anymore. You don't go to the newsstand pick up your favorite hip hop magazine or
it's not.
I mean, do they still even make like Jet Ebony? Do they still make those publicly?
Ebony, yes.
I think Ebony, yes, because they have Ebony.
No, because come on, you know how we do it. You had a grandmother growing up in the 80s and 90s. It was probably a Jet magazine from like the 60s to the 80s in my grandmother's house somewhere, like a whole collection. So to see these publications physical is like to sit down. You know what? Let me take time to read. You can make your
own magazine now on madcloud.com. That's how I make mine. But shout out to Fifi from Real Royalty Magazine, who was part of the Elegant Business family. I actually started under her, and then Jerry Fontillo, who was from Super Ugly. You know Jerry. He actually put me in touch with Human Canvas magazine with SETI. So I was writing for both magazines, but I always wanted an opportunity to be on the cover, and for some reason, I just never got that opportunity. So Jerry was like, forget that. I found the blueprint on how to do the magazine. We're going to put you on the cover of your own magazine.
There you go.
So that's where it is. And so my next issue number 3, is featuring Redman and Chuck D.
All right.
So, a question for you. All right, because you guys grew up in the Chuck D era. I'm asking questions, even though I'm being interviewed. It's just like, this is like wisdom history right here. So, like, how was it during those years? Was like Public Enemy, to my understanding, was like, oh no, you can't really listen to that out loud, like revolutionaries.
Yes.
But as far as like the public, like that's a little too
now,
revolutionary.
I just met him last Monday for the first time, and I got a mini interview with
Chuck is amazing.
He was at the Queen's Library. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Ralph had stuff at the Queen's Library, and it was on his birthday. He had Chuck D there. It should have been packed in there.
See, that's the gap we need to bridge because unfortunately, everyone's not on the internet.
Yes.
And I was actually talking with my homeboy about this the other day. I'm like, look, everything's digital now.
Yes.
You still need physical. Hip hop is like the last thing to embrace technology.
Yes.
And a lot of times it's like, even now in this digital world, you're not valid until it's physical.
Yes.
Even though nobody has a CD player anymore,
yeah.
If your CD is not on the shelves in Best Buy or Target, you're not really doing it. Everybody.
And let me tell you something. When I met Eric Sermon a couple of years back at the King's Theater, I think it was, I was telling him that, this was at the time when they wasn't giving the legends and stuff their flowers. It was before verses and stuff. I think somebody heard my vision and brought it to life. Have the money to. But I remember talking to Eric Sermon and telling him, that I wanted to do something to appreciate our legends, and then that's when Versus came out, and now all the R&B and hip hop guys is coming out the woodwork from 20 years ago, getting back together, doing their thing. So I think somebody should give me a little credit.
And then it's really dope with the stories out on the internet now because everybody's getting their flowers, like the whole like.
But remember, they weren't. Remember this new generation. They just was focused on them. And it was like, forget about that.
There's a tendency to erase history. Like,
yes.
When you really see Teddy Riley's production discography, Teddy Riley is one of my favorite producers ever.
Yes.
When you see his full runs, like, wow, he did that.
Right.
The fact that Aaron Hall was writing for Michael Jackson and them stuff like that is like, I was too young at the time, so I didn't really know what's going on. But now listening to certain music, I'm like, wait. This sounds like this. This sounds like that.
Right.
There's a lot of
they recycle everything. Like this new generation.
I'm talking about when I hear
the
stuff. When I hear the stuff from back then, I study it. I'm like, wait, that sounds like Teddy Riley's. Then I listen to certain songs and I hear the chain, and I'm like, oh, okay, he has something to do with this. I mean, perfect example, the Bomb Squad, Slept On production team.
Yes.
They did Cube's whole first album.
Yeah.
Like when I'm studying this to rap and listen to in the house.
I actually saw Keith Shock Lee a couple of weeks ago. Actually, he was at 50 to Drip, and he was at something else I was at. And yeah, but it was
How was that experience like to have all your legends in one room?
amazing.
It's
amazing.
rare you see
Just
that many
like
people.
50 to Drip, Carl Kanai, April Walker, Dapper Dan, Fubu,
Yeah, I would've geeked
Shirt
out.
Kings.
I would have geeked out. I would have definitely geeked out. Like just the history
I'm
of the
actually
culture.
bringing Shirt Kings on my show.
Ah,
Yeah, I'm bringing them on my show.
legends.
Yeah.
Legendary.
Legends.
I remember being
I
a
got a Shirt
kid.
King story too.
It was either the
They
Shirt
were-
Kings or the Black Bar Simpson t-shirt. Everybody.
Yes. And see, and they were in the Coliseum Mall.
Mhm.
So I remember being young and just going in there watching them airbrushes. Shout out to Jeff Starr. He's like the second generation of the Shirt Kings. He got a lot of my stuff, a lot of my outfits and stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna have them on the show as well.
Big salute to Shirt Kings. Funny Shirt King story.
Okay.
So me as a kid, went all stuff.
Mhm.
I'm actually going into the Coliseum one time, and I was like, all right, I want to do some with Shirt Kings. And Shirt, they had their stuff, but I was too shy to say anything. He was like, yo, shorty, where you get that, whatever? And I was like, yo, and he was like, yo, come back. And they told me when to come back in the whole nine. And when I came back, me being a little bit of a little bit arrogant, feeling myself a little bit. So I was asking, I was like, yo, so if, do something with Shirt Kings, they said, well, yeah, you have to go through one. I said, well, could I put my signature on it? He was like, nah, you gotta put Shirt Kings on it.
Mhm.
I'm like, well, why could I put my signature on it? And he was like, because it's the Shirt Kings, and they was explaining it was the brand, and then I was like, I was like, I'm gonna just do my own thing.
Oh, okay.
But it's like they were big inspiration, huge
It's just like with Dr.
inspirations.
Dre using a lot of producers' beats and stuff, and then they would give him the credit for them doing the beats. And then you see, what's the white guy?
Scott Storch.
Scott
That
Storch.
was a
But
few.
it was different with
Was-
Shirt Kings because the thing
Yeah.
is Shirt Kings, once again, how I knew about some of them, because once again, my alma mater, High School of Art and Design. So it was like that connection
Mhm.
and admiring what they were doing and admiring the fact that all of everybody was like, yo, you wasn't anybody until you had a Shirt King joint on.
Yeah, I had
No,
Keith
nah.
Parrott from Fubu here a couple of weeks ago also. So, and he gave me some gear. I interviewed him at Ralph McDaniel's documentary, on Video Music Box, and he gave me gear when I interviewed him there. So I was just like, shout out to Keith. And then when I got my show, he was like, girl, if it wasn't you, I would have backed out. And I was like, I appreciate you. So I actually got to interview the other two guys because Damon wasn't there. It was his birthday at 50 to Drip. So I was actually able to interview the other two guys. I would love to meet Damon as well. I want to get all four of them together, but you got to take what you can
Time
get.
will tell. Time
Yes.
will tell.
Shirt
Yes.
Kings inspired me as a young teenager, 12, 13, to be a young entrepreneur.
Mhm.
All of everybody who couldn't afford, when I moved to Left Right,
Mhm.
everybody who couldn't afford Shirt Kings or whatever, they'd be like, all right, yo, shorty, I'm gonna give you a shot. So like the Bart Simpson joints on their pants,
Mhm.
taught myself how to airbrush better. Initially, I was taught by my uncle.
Mhm.
Shout out to my uncle Floyd.
I got an airbrush story.
So he showed me this.
Spilled all
He
that
showed
paint on
me
me, and I
initially how
never
to
did
do
it
it,
again.
and I took it there, and it was just like, yo, and it kept me. It kept me out of trouble, but it also kept money in my pocket.
Mhm.
So it got to a point where, I could paint on my own clothes because my
You
folks
still
wasn't
do
having.
that? You still do that?
Yeah, every night I still have my airbrush. I don't touch it as
Listen,
much.
I'm gonna have to come over there. 'Cause I
Yeah.
would have learned, but I guess the airbrush that I had, the ink just spilled
With
all
the
over
one
me,
with the
and I
double
just-
over the top.
Yeah, but
Did
do
you
they
that?
have it where it has
Oh
the
yeah, they
cap
got
on
the
it? Okay,
double
I
accent
need
with the
that.
capses.
I
Yeah,
need-
there's all
because
sorts
they
of
tell
good
me
stuff.
like
It's good.
my art, I guess the way I draw, they say, yo, you awesome doing airbrushing, but like after the paint spilled on me, I kind of lost that.
Nah, but you know what? The paint is gonna spill on you.
Uh,
It's trial and error. It's like with
Okay.
anything else.
But you said they got the ones with the
I mean, they got the ones,
Okay.
but everything is trial and error.
Okay.
You know, and that's something that's in life.
Mhm,
You're gonna fail a million times before you succeed.
mhm.
Or even if you get to the point where, pow, you nail it the first time, you still got to be able to continue to find ways to be able to nail it and just to repeat. So it's trial
That's
and
how
error.
I feel with the
repetition.
magazines. But my issue number 3 is gonna be crazy. I got a lot of people that's gonna be in that one. And like I said, to have Chuck D, when I interview him, he just kept holding the magazine like, this is amazing. This is amazing. Can you help me do mine?
That's what's up.
That's what's up.
So I want to be helping Chuck D make his own magazine.
Printers
Isn't
are
that
lost
crazy?
art form. Printers definitely
You're in
lost
the
art
middle of
form.
an interview.
But it's
Are
so
you here
dope,
already?
even just like with magazines, it's tangible.
Okay, you're early. I'm
You
gonna
hold
come
it
out
in
in a
your
little
hand.
bit, okay?
You can hold it in your hand. You
All right.
can
All right.
feel it. You can touch it.
There's nothing like
I'm also
turning
the
the
art
page.
director of a magazine that's been around for 30 years
Wow.
called African Voices. So I'm the art director. So it's wild because I pretty much grew up as a college student, started working with them, and and then been the art director for 20 years
Right.
with them. So
That's
it's
really
just like
dope.
having a tangible magazine is
Yes.
a beautiful thing. It's
Yes.
like, yes,
Yes.
read it.
We're gonna have
Touch
to.
it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do something with your program. And you
Of
definitely,
course.
Quan, you already know we're gonna get it. So where can I reach you on social media? Because we got to wrap
Social
this
media.
up. Yeah.
You can reach me at D Cross, the artist. On all platforms. That's DCROSSSTEARTIST, or just simply Derek Cross, DERICK.
All right, guys. Before y'all go,
Yes,
on
yes.
3, I need y'all to say it's code 31. 1, 2, 3.
It's code 31.
I appreciate y'all. Episode 8 is in the book. Shout out to S.STREET Media. It's Code 31 Media TV podcast. Guys, I'll see you guys next week on episode 9.
Yes, yes.
Nice.
Get these pictures real quick.
Rod's here.
Yep. Hold on, guys.
Thank you for having me. And yeah,
Come on, man. Come on.
and we'll continue to just like
Yes.
build on some.
Definitely will.
Definitely.
This is gonna